The graph of a quadratic function with vertex -1, 1 is shown in the figure below. Find the range and the domain. Write the range and domain using interval notation. We know the vertex is -1, 1. And the domain of a quadratic function is a little bit easier to see. It's the set of all possible x values on this graph. So notice this graph is getting wider and wider and wider, and that's what the arrows are saying. So this is actually going to continuously get wider and wider and wider and wider. So all the possible x values is actually could get up to 3,604,852. And of course, it could go to the negative direction as well. So remember that the domain is the set of all x values. Let's call this function f of x. And I'm going to use the notation capital D-O-M, then parentheses. The domain of f is going to be written in interval notation, -infinity up to +infinity, which is all real numbers. Now to get the range, what you want to do is tilt your head 90 degrees to your left. And if you look at the range very, very carefully, I want to draw it right here. You can see that the lowest y value is getting lower and lower and lower. So the lowest value is very, very low because of the arrow. The arrow indicates that. So the lowest value, or the lowest y value, is very, 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 very large in the negative direction. So we call that -infinity. That's not an 8, by the way. Remember, your head is 90 degrees rotated to your left. I'm going to put a comma. And it goes up to what? If you look very, very carefully, it goes up to -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, and the highest possible y value on this graph is 1. So it goes up to 1, and we actually include 1. Notice we don't include infinity, because infinity is not a number. Infinity is a concept. I meant we don't include -infinity here, because infinity is a concept. So there's our range in interval notation. How do we write the range? I use capital R, N, G, parenthesis. The range of f is equal to -infinity, comma, -1. Feel free to do example B on your own. You could pause the video, and if you need to check your answer, certainly unpause the video to see the revelation. First thing you want to do is call this function g of x. It's not the same as part A. The domain of a quadratic function is relatively simple. It will always be all real numbers, unless otherwise restricted. But this is not restricted. You can see that from the indication of these arrows. They're not restricted at all. Let's find the range. If you need to, tilt your head 90 degrees to your left. And the range of g, let's read the vertex from the graph. That's going to be key. The vertex here is 4, -2. In this case, because the parabola is opening up, the emphasis here is not a maximum value, but a minimum value. So if it's concave up, the parabola is going to have a minimum. But what is its range? Well, the range starts with that minimum value, so bracket -2, and goes up to infinity. And the infinity is a symbol that looks like an 8, but sideways. If you need to, you could always label it off to the side like this. 90 degrees rotated to your left. Another way of writing this is actually drawing an arrow to indicate those y values. Notice you're shading towards the concept of infinity. And you're shading from the bottom to the top. For part A, you actually shaded starting with negative infinity, and then you shade all the way until you get to 1. Let's circle our final answers.